Hi, everyone. I'm here today to talk to young teen parents. Normally, on a normal year, we would have the Teen Parent Conference, and we weren't able to do that. And so, this is just a little talk to help support teen moms that are at home, trying to deal with a new baby and going through some struggles there to sort of support them. And like I said, normally we have this during the actual year, and because of COVID, we weren't able to. So I'm providing this talk and putting it online for those people who might want it. So this talk is called the Normal Developmental Milestones and Behavior Management Strategies. And I introduce myself in two ways. I think it helps everyone to understand where I'm coming from. So I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I've been teaching in our district for about 25 years. Before that, I also worked at other districts for about 5 years, and even in high school and in college, I worked in education, and so it's kind of been my life focus. I also was a speaker, and I've spoken at different events. One of the things that I spoke about was parent involvement, and I did that for the Kayak conference here in town. And Kayak stands for the California Association of the Education of Young Children. And like I said, I always speak at the Teen Parent Conference, at least for the last 15 years or so. I enjoy doing it. I do a couple of talks, this being the most popular one because all parents need help. And certainly as teen parents, we definitely need help. So for years, I was working in child development, and for a time, I was the mentor in charge of several school sites where I would go out and help those teachers and give them support. I was also in charge of running classes where I would give talks and help teachers with time management and behavior management and family engagement and those types of things. But one of the things that I really enjoyed is part of our child development program, we were required to give some sort of parent education. And I made sure the parent education was super simple and just forthright, but parents really responded, and it was a great thing to do, and it seemed to go over really well. So that's kind of the talk that I'm giving today, is just that parent behavior management strategies. So along with my career, I have three children. I've been with my husband for 34 years. We have three grandchildren now. This is a picture of us that I'm including in the slideshow. The youngest baby isn't in the picture, but we definitely have three now. And yeah, it's parenting is always joyful, and it is not easy. And so that's why it's important that we talk about it. I also, like I said, I wanted to introduce myself in two ways. I personally came from a very difficult childhood. There was lots of abuse and neglect, and then like many people like me who come from backgrounds where there's abuse and neglect, you tend to have young women who have children at a young age, and that's what happened to me. And so I was a teen parent, and I lived in HUD housing for 5 years. And during that time, I went through college and worked and raised a child. So it was a very difficult time. And so I'm so happy to be here to talk to you and to tell you that I understand how hard it is, and I want to support you. So, okay, why we should teach parents about development. So parents who understand their child's developmental state are more likely to have appropriate expectations. So when we know what is normal and absolutely appropriate in our children, we tend to accept it and to change our behavior instead of expecting a baby to change their behavior. Having appropriate expectations makes for a healthier relationship between parent and child. And we know through research, a lot of people much smarter than me, Harvard, University of Michigan, parent involvement is the number one factor when deciding how a child is going to grow up and how they are going to be successful academically and socially and emotionally. So it is a huge, important topic. And so that's why we're here talking to you today. You must, as a young parent, you must care for yourself first. Not only, obviously, but definitely first. And why is that true? Because happy people have happy, positive relationships with those around them. It's also important to make future plans and have goals. And I would suggest that with everyone. I think it's super important to sit down and write out your goals for today, for tomorrow, for a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's important to know where you're going so that life doesn't pass you by, that you are leading the train and you are deciding where you're going to go. It's also important to have fun. And so plan to reward yourself daily, weekly, monthly when you reach goals, and like I said, even daily. So when I was very young and I had to do all the things, go to school, go to work, be a parent, and it's hard. It's hard to do all those things, especially when you're very young. And it's important to find ways to reward yourself. So one of the ways that I would reward myself daily is after I had done all the things, right? Feed and clothe and make sure my baby was all cleaned and ready for bed and did the story time and everything. Once I put her to bed, I would take a bubble bath, and I looked forward to that bubble bath all day. And it was just a rewarding time, and it made for things just to be a little bit easier. Okay, so the next thing is depression, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later. It's important to find ways that make you feel, like I said, something to look forward to. And one of the things that I did was go on bike rides. And so I put a baby seat on the back of my bike, and we would go on these bike rides in these fancy neighborhoods and look around at the houses we wanted. And it made for a fun day for the baby and a dream for me to go and imagine what life could be like at the end of this whole situation. And I would suggest that you plan outings with your child in mind. So for instance, instead of, most of us, especially we girls, we like to shop and pick cute clothes and whatnot. Now that is not an outing you want to take a baby on. Their idea of fun is not shopping. And so things like going to the park or going for walks or, just finding ways to, going to the zoo, anything like that, that is for the child and it's an outing for us. It just makes for a win-win. And I'm always striving to find ways to do things that my children will enjoy as well as myself. So those things helped with depression. And believe me, when you're going through all of this, you need to find ways to support yourself. Another thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit more is to take really good care of your body. It's always about mind, body, and spirit. And so if you feel good about your body, if you feel good about yourself, you tend to, your spirit goes up and it makes you feel stronger. And your mind, your mind is active and you want to increase your mind. And so it helps you with the next thing, which is education and goal setting. So whatever you want to do, you have to set goals and prepare for that. And one of the things I always wanted to do was to become a teacher. And so I prepared for that. I imagined what it would be like to be a teacher. I looked into what it would be, what the requirements would be. And so I started with that process. And the great thing, depending on how you look at it, the great thing about teenage parenting is we are provided as teenage parents with so much support. You really have so much support, whether it's housing and food and medical care. and free education. The government wants us to be successful, and they've put all these things in place so we are successful. And one of those things is to give you a grant, and a grant is basically a loan that you don't have to pay back. And so basically they're taking a risk. The government is taking a risk in saying that we will pay for your education and your support so that you can be a contributing member to society. And I took full advantage of that and was able to go through 5 years at a local college, and graduated with my degree in liberal studies, and then also went on to get my credential. So, and finally, after education and trying to get a good job, probably the most important thing, and I know it's going to be kind of a strange thing to say, but the most important thing you're going to ever decide is who you spend your life with. And so choose a good partner. So your child's father may be with you now, and he may be a wonderful parent, and that's great. However, many times those relationships don't last. We're awfully young, 16, 15, 16, 17 years old, 18, to make those types of lifelong commitments. And so it's really important to prepare ourselves for that fabulous partner, and to look for people in our lives, that'll support us in a way that is best for our children. And so you really need to look for someone who's kind and ethical and will be kind to you and your child, and is safe around you and your child. And so it's really important. It is the most important thing when it comes to happiness and well-being for your child. And two parents, as I said earlier, the number one factor in student growth and development is good parenting, and is parent involvement. And having two parents is always better than one. And that's because one can support the other and fill in when the other one is tired and all sorts of things. And it just provides for a more stable environment for you and for your children. So choosing a good partner, the biggest thing you will ever do. So please choose wisely.